Hi guys, I'm Belinda Smith from Renovate and Real Estate. Hi to everyone who's listening in the mums and dads, renovators and decorators Facebook group, and also those of you who have tuned in on YouTube. This is another session in our January 23 little sessions called Open House. I know a few of you who are on this Facebook Live are going to ask me questions, and that's what this is all about, guys. You are so welcome to ask me any questions as we go along if you wish to do so, and I'll answer them live every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. New South Wales time, now until the end of January 2023. So let's get started. Tonight's session is just a quick check-in on setting realistic reno goals for the next 12 months. The key word is realistic. So what do I mean by realistic? Let's go through it. If you're new to renovating or you're experienced at renovating, your goals are going to be completely different. It is nothing for experienced renovators to say, I'm going to flip 5 homes between now and the end of 2023. It is nothing for them to set those goals and to be able to do it. Some experienced renovators are working on more than one project at the same time. But if you've never renovated before and you're absolutely terrified about getting started, or you've got some education to cover, some learning to do before you do your first renovation, then setting a goal like that would be too much. You're never ever going to achieve 5 reno flips in your first year if you've never done one before and you don't have a clue about what you're doing. So set realistic goals that are right for you and where you are at right at this moment. If you haven't got your finances sorted and you haven't got any borrowings, so perhaps your first job, your first goal, your first milestone will be to go and get a job, like to go and get work, so that you look fabulous for the banks or your mortgage broker or whoever's going to give you the money to get started. And so therefore that might be the first goal you set. It mightn't be anything to do with the renovation itself. So you need to set all of these stepping stones for you to cover to take you close to the end result, to get you there, but get you there bit by bit. There's no point saying, I'm going to do like something extraordinary if you're starting right at the very, very beginning. No matter if you're watching other people who are very experienced achieving that, it might be a thing that you're able to achieve right in the here and the now. In that being said, watch the self-talk. If you start setting some goals for yourself and you don't reach those goals, be really careful about the way you speak to yourself. Eliminate language like, oh, I'm bloody hopeless. This always happens to me. I see other people do really well and I haven't even made a start. I wanted to be here by the end of April and I haven't even done this. Like, just be really careful about the self-talk. It doesn't help. It really doesn't help. And if you don't like the word goal, it gets thrown around a lot these days. If you're not comfortable with the word goal, switch it for milestone. It's kind of like softer language. And when I think of milestones, I think of, that picture there, just jumping from one little thing to the next to the next. Don't think about the big mountain to climb. Don't think too far ahead. It just becomes overwhelming. Just think about setting little goals / milestones for yourself that are achievable, that feel a little bit scary, that extend you a little bit, but there's something that if you apply some focus and energy to, you'll be able to achieve. If you don't trust yourself to stay on target, grab an accountability buddy. They really work. Tell that accountability buddy the time frame you've set for yourself, the jobs that you want to achieve, the tasks that you want to have covered by that date, why it's important to you to have achieved those tasks by that certain date and to reach that first milestone by that date. Let somebody else know. And they can call you out on it if you haven't quite gotten there. And then no self-talk. Start to work out solutions. Why didn't you reach that milestone? What do you need to do to go and get that task done and to cover it sooner rather than later? And just recognize, the things that you're doing that are okay and the things that you aren't doing well enough. Work with others who are ahead of you. This goes so well inside my community, Renovation Mastery. Inside that group are people who are doing multiple renovations. There are people who are making a lot of money. There are people who are brand new. There are people who are asking questions that they think are dumb questions. I think there's no such thing as a dumb question. There are people who are just finding their way. But working with others who are a little bit ahead of you and seeing that they're just real people doing what you want to do, it should make you feel great. And it does make you feel great if you're somewhere on that journey. It can actually be quite triggering if you're sitting back watching what they're achieving and you haven't made any start at all. That's why it's so important to get going in some way, shape, or form. Put a date on your milestones. Every 30 days, every 60 days, and every 90 days. So I like to set things that are like bigger chunks of things to achieve in 90 days, but I like to check in every 30. I like to check in every 60, because if you leave it right until that 90 days, it's you don't have time to catch up. But if you check in every 30 days, you can already recognize if you're falling behind or whether you need to put your foot on the accelerator to get where you want to go in 90 days. So make sure you put a check in it. The same as when we're renovating, right? And we need to check on our budget when we've just done things like bigger rooms, the bathroom, or we've just done some landscape gardening outside. We want to check on our budget and our timeframes. Like the bigger tasks, you just always check in, always be looking at where you're at that particular time. Mel Robbins, totally love Mel Robbins. If you guys aren't following her on YouTube, I suggest you go and dig her out. That's a weird thing to say. I guess you go and find her. She is amazing at talking about things like goal setting. She has this thing called the 5-second rule, which is basically changing the way you think about getting started and all those overwhelming thoughts into just counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Something happens and it switches the front vortex of your brain. And is that the word? Vortex? Anyway, front of your brain, fixes the front of your brain, gets you going. So but you know, she's really good at observing human behavior. This is what she said. Your brain is wired to stop you from doing things that are uncomfortable, uncertain, or scary. It's your job to learn to move from those ideas that could change everything into acting on them in the smallest moment. I totally love that. We are wired. We are wired to procrastinate. We are wired to pull away from anything that makes us feel uncertain. But really, that's where the freedom happens. That's where the action starts. And once you start action, then you become in a state of momentum. And, you know, so just getting started in the smallest moment, it really matters. Focus is important, guys. Eliminate distractions. I've got this amazing app on my phone that every day I wake up, it tells me from the day before how much time I spent on YouTube, on emails, on work-related tasks, as opposed to social media, just floating around kind of tasks. It is amazing when you see it in front of you where the hours are broken down, and I can recognize where I need to improve in a heartbeat. So I suggest that you really take a close look at how much time you're actually wasting. Someone like Elon Musk and me and you guys, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. You see people achieve extraordinary things. When people are achieving extraordinary things, it is because they're focused on what they're doing in that moment, 100% focus. So eliminate all distractions, turn your phones off. I know I can listen to a podcast while I'm cooking if the recipe's not complicated, right? Peel a few carrots and potatoes, I'm fine. But if a recipe is very, very complicated, I want to turn off that podcast because I've got like instructions to follow and I don't want to stuff it up. So eliminate distractions. We work so much better and we get more done faster if we're just working on one thing at a time, one thing at a time. You'll also make fewer mistakes and you'll create higher quality outcomes. What you finish off will be of a much higher quality if you're just not distracted, if your mind is very, very focused in. And therefore, you also become a little bit more creative and new ideas come to you when you're just focused and you're in the moment. I thought I'd share this with you. This is why it's important to get going. This is one of our students. She just popped this up. This is directly from our Facebook group, right? Just what I was talking about before. An early Christmas present has arrived. The summary of the project: this property was bought off market. So she wasn't competing with people who are, perhaps bidding too high at auction. She bought this off market before anybody else had a chance to grab it. The renovation took 14 weeks. Guys, pretty decent, right? 14 weeks. It went to market in 1 week, 1 week's marketing. 2 days after the marketing was live, she had 5 written contracts. The property was sold in 2 days with unconditional, that is, somebody waived the cooling off period, and a 5% deposit and a 30-day settlement. So shorter settlement for her. She took a 5% deposit, but it was sold in 2 days unconditional. So the people couldn't back out. Basically, they forewent any building pest inspections or all of that kind of stuff. So the net profit for this student of mine, she, in her words, just my share alone is close to the top tax bracket. So I Googled the top tax bracket and circled it somewhere around $180,000. So pretty cool from a renovation, guys. But this kind of result doesn't happen if there's no determination, if there's no focus, if there's no milestone/goal set, and if the foot's not on the accelerator. If you're sitting at home on your lounge dreaming and thinking that something's going to land in your lap, this kind of result won't end up coming at you. So guys, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Set realistic goals from where you're at right now. If you want to reach out anytime to speak to me, you are so welcome to do that. www.renovateandrealestate.com.au/call. Fill in the document so I know where your starting place is, and I can have a chat to you, or my team can have a chat to you, and we can see if we can help you get going from where you're at. Cheers, guys. Have a beautiful evening. Bye.